Presidential aspirants on the platform of the People's Democratic Party in the Southeast geopolitical region have begun talks to present a united front ahead of the party's presidential primaries. 4 of the 5 aspirants met in Abuja and sealed an agreement to work for a common cause. The aspirants are former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi, former President of the Senate Ayim Pius Ayim, and entrepreneur Sam Ohabunwa and Nwachukwu Anakweze. Another presidential aspirant, Olivia Diana Terrella, was absent from the meeting, but Ayim said more aspirants from the zone will join the team in due course. He disclosed that the team would consult with other zones over the party's presidential ticket, which it said should be done with strict consideration for fairness and equity. Joining us now are a lawyer, Dr. Libo Agwara, and a former Imo East Senatorial candidate of the abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, Casmir Ebubedike. They will be speaking on the agitation for zoning the presidency to the southeast ahead of the 2023 presidential election. Welcome to Newsday. Well, let me start with you, Dr. Libo Agwara. What's your take on PDP presidential aspirants in the southeast geopolitical zone seeking to have a consensus candidate? How easy will that be, considering the fact that they've proceeded to sell, the presidential forms to aspirants from different zones in Nigeria?
Well, in the first place, if we were running a true democracy, the issue of whether an Igbo can run or not, wouldn't even come up. What we have is a system that consists of mainly about 36 little dictators called governors, and then we have the federal government. And these, the governors, the president, they act like they're above the law. Now, if you look at the United States, the people don't ask whether a candidate is from the north or of a particular ethnic group. And you would think that at this stage that Nigeria would have passed this issue of whether an Igbo can be president or not. Now, of course, within the PDP, I don't see why candidates from the east or of the Igbo tribe should not be able to compete and actually win. My hope is that there will be a consensus candidate. I know there are a few individuals from the north that are interested, most prominently the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who I know personally, but I think it's only fair, if you want a united Nigeria, that all the tribes be allowed to participate. My hope is that, and I'm a fan of Peter Obi, let me admit that, my expectation and my hope is that he will be unanimously adopted as the presidential candidate of PDP. There are forces in the system that do not want Peter to become the president because they know that if he gets in, he is going to plug those holes that allow people to steal government funds. He is going to help rebuild the infrastructure of this country. Now, I don't know him personally. We've met a few times, so I'm not here to campaign for him. But to answer your question, I think PDP needs to look back because they owe a lot of their success to the Southeast.
All right, Mr. Ebubedike, let me bring this question to you. Just to respond to what Dr. Agwara has just said, what do you feel about the Southeast push for a candidate and the fact that a consensus has not yet been found under PDP?
Thank you very much for having me. The most important thing that bespeaks this agitation is what do we exactly want? We want a polity where we all have equal access to the political and economic privileges of the country. So, and again, there has been a lot of insistence on the status quo candidates running for office. I want to use this opportunity before I address this issue to encourage young people from everywhere they are, run for public office. The country belongs to all of us. We all love this country together. Now, PDP as a party, they have their constitutions and the rules. So I think the party leadership has to get together and unanimously elect one candidate that is competent to right the wrongs that has been done in this country. And I think we should follow that route for now.
All right, let's come back to you, sir, here in the studio. You spoke about the fact that if this was an ideal country and probably our democracy had actually matured, we shouldn't be talking about zoning. But it is a reality right now. How best do we make, because how do we milk it for what it is to be able to get the very best candidate? Do you still think that with zoning, we can still get the very best candidate for Nigeria coming into 2023?
Let me put it this way, okay? With the current crop of candidates, we have some very good people, okay? It's rare to get a good candidate with zoning, okay? That's how we ended up where we are right now. However, given that you have someone like former Governor Obi running, I believe Anyim is also running, okay? And a few other individuals, and I'm assuming that you're not limiting your question to just PDP.
No, not just PDP, okay. Right? We're talking in the broad spectrum of things.
Now, I understand that former Governor of Imo, my state, Rochas is running. I'm not a fan of Rochas, but okay, he's running. Okay, and frankly, to tell you the truth, I think that to some degree, experience as a politician in this system since 1999 should disqualify about 90% of the candidates. Okay, that you've been a governor before should not automatically qualify you, especially when we look back at what you did. I don't think, and the reason I keep talking about Mr. Obi is because of the way he performed when he was a governor. So just because you come out doesn't mean people should support you. We need to look at their background, look at what they did since they've become politicians. Okay, and we need a new crop of leaders to come out who will actually be leaders, not politicians. Politicians are concerned about the next election. Okay, leaders are concerned about the next generation. We know that, okay? And listen to these politicians. What they do is, I mean, I don't even know where to start. You have former governors, former senators, who benefited from one particular party, and at the juncture where they felt like, well, they're no longer deriving selfish individual benefits, they switch parties, not because of a disagreement, okay, of ideas or ideologies with their former party, but because, okay, either they want to protect themselves from EFCC indictment, or they think that they can get a better ministerial position if they switch. This is not how to run a country. We cannot continue this way. They have stolen all the money. This country is broke, okay? We need people to come in, okay, and fix this thing, and that's why you're going to hear from a lot more people like myself. I have no reason, okay, to be back here. There are a lot of us who are doing very well, who have actually attained the height in our professions over there, but we're willing to come back here, okay, and do whatever it takes to help fix the country.
Okay, so I'll bring Mr. Ebubedike in now. Talking about the issue of zoning, particularly to the southeast, there are some that would say that it's going to be a bit difficult because they need somebody who has not just the clout, but somebody who also has the war chest. When we talk about war chest now, we're talking of the financial muscle, which some people have in bullion vans, you know, so as to emerge as the next president of Nigeria. Well, how would you react to that?
Well, at this point, we're looking for people who are competent. You know, so we should not restrict that competence within the boundaries of geopolitical zones, as the case may be. So who is the best candidate at this point who will lift people from prisons of poverty to prosperity? Who is that candidate who is connected from the east to the west and across different political zones. So you have to have the clout, you have to have the record that speaks for you. So I think at this point, we have to be serious as a nation and determine what course we are going to take. Are we still going to play the tribal politics? Are we looking for people who would move the country forward? So this is what the sincere and honest and frank questions that we have to ask ourselves to determine which direction that we want to go. So we cannot allow the old politicians who play these old indices of tribalism and what they use to achieve their different political goals. So we have to be sincere when we're speaking to ourselves. Now, the East, legitimately is demanding that we belong to what is going on in this country. They're demanding that, we participate in politics, in the leadership of this country. So I'm tired of having people say, oh, for you to be a good leader, you have to come from the North, or you have to come from the South. So definitely we're looking for people that can, transport us from this quagmire we're in. There's insecurity everywhere. The youth are unemployed. And I would really like to briefly talk on this employment. All the governors, or most of the governors, you build 3 kilometers of road. You invite the president or the minister to commission the roads. Please, you have to shift your focus, on unemployment. These kids that graduate from universities and colleges of education are idle. This is why they resort to all kinds of crimes and all kinds of vices. So we need to be honest with ourselves at this point. And I also want to say this is not about party. It's about individual candidates. It's about your record. I personally like Atiku, Obi. I like Professor Shibanjo. Yeah. However, our discussions, our conversations have to, go beyond that. We're looking for new and emerging leaders who will chart a new course and seek a new direction to lift our people from prisons of poverty. Our people are in prisons of poverty. That's the truth.
And in order for us to move forward or even lift the nation out of any kind of situation, there needs to be unity. And I'm sure you would agree with me, Dr. Agwara, when I said the nation is quite fractured. It seems like political parties are quite fractured. We see what's going on in the APC. Former Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki has said in order for the PDP to even get to the finish line, there needs to be some kind of unity. Is this something you see that is possible, or will it just be a fractionalized race till the very end?
And that's a very important question. Nigeria is more fractured now than at any time in its history, okay, believe it or not. Secondly, and I wanted to briefly address something that my sister here asked Mr. Ebubedike about bullion vans of cash. If you look at our history, okay, let's start with President Shehu Shagari. He didn't have any money, okay? And then you jump to when Obasanjo became president, he had no money. Okay, he had just been released from prison, and I believe somebody actually paid to take him to Florida to get him medical treatment. And then the late Yaradua did not have any money, okay? Neither did Goodluck Jonathan when he became president. So, and Buhari, of course, claimed to be a farmer. I guess he had the same 150 heads of cow that he's always had. So the question is not that you need money. There are certain individuals in the system, and these individuals have either participated in rape in this country, okay? They've stolen all that money, and they together determine, okay, who will become president, okay? The reason that Tinubu is running around, okay, trying to convince everybody that he's entitled to the ticket in APC is because, okay, he most likely was one of the 2 or 3 people who financed Buhari's election, okay? So if people can agree on a good candidate, okay, the money for the election won't be a problem, Okay? The problem is that the people that will bring the money would not want someone that will fix the system. So we have got to find a way, and I think we've started by passing the electoral law, okay? With the electronic voting, I think we'll remove a lot of the old system of rigging, okay? And hopefully we can elect a decent person. Now, going back to your question about unity, I was reading a piece in the news today that basically summarized the fact that you have the Sultan of Sokoto, who I believe is the supreme Muslim leader in Nigeria, agreeing with the Christian Association of Nigeria, as well as many southern organizations, that if the federal government does not do something immediately about insecurity, there may not be a 2023 election. So your question is an important one. We need that unity, and somebody has to kickstart it, okay? It's not gonna be somebody from the South. It has to come from the North. And the reason I say that is because, okay, if you look at the history of this country, okay, we've had more presidents from the North, okay, than from the South. Somebody from the North needs to say, okay, guys, you know what? Let's sit down as brothers and sisters, come up with solutions, okay, and agree that the fact that half of Zamfara state is controlled by bandits, you can't reliably go to Kaduna today by road, air, or rail. We've got Niger State, which is next to Abuja, okay? We've got terrorists or bandits, whatever you want to call them, okay? We've got Borno State. I mean, we have got to do something about this. We've got agitators for secession.
For the brevity of time,
sure.
permit me to actually just bring in Mr. Ebubedike to look at this thing probably critically. Now, Mr. Ebubedike, I want you to, we've spoken about the prospect of having someone from the Southeast. But looking at these candidates, Pius Ayim, we've mentioned Peter Obi, we've mentioned Dave Umahi, the list goes on. What do you think educates the viewers today? What do you think is best suited for the job based on the current situation and based on the current state Nigeria finds itself right now?
It's an easy pick. I would say Peter Obi. Peter Obi has the credentials, he has a record. You know, we all see where he left office, what he left in the treasury. You know, we also, somebody like Professor Soludo, you know, these are credible people, you know, who would not, at the end of the day, bleed the treasury anemic. So these are the people we're looking for. So you know, anytime discussions are made on who becomes what, you know, people always talk about who has been this or who has been that. No, this is why I keep insisting, as much as we're talking about these people, we're looking for new and emerging leaders who would take us to where we want to be, who would transport us to the future. And this requires visionary leadership. Look at what's going on. We all like to go to Dubai. Dubai is what it is today because of the vision of the leader of Dubai. Somebody sat on his chair or wherever he was, and he imagined the possibilities of what Dubai could be in the next 30 years, and they actually put the plan to work. So these are the kind of people we're looking for, and these are the kind of people we need. Now, on a generic sense, our government, please, is not the solution to our problem. Our government, in fact, is a problem. We have been told time and time again to accept loyalty to this nation. As we do that, we watch our national assets taken from the needy and given to the greedy. This is just I mean, we have to, like I always say, we have to be sincere with ourselves. So if you are there, if you are running for public office, you know, one thing I like to say, Atiku Obi, Professor Shibanjo, we all, and me, myself, we all love this country equally. So I don't believe that you love this country more than I. And I'll go back to zoning that you just said. You know, the truth about zoning is that it kind of denies, you know, competent people the opportunity to run for public office. So as much as I insist that there are people from the Southeast, Peter Obi especially, who is well qualified, who has a record to move us, to transport us to the future, to where we want to be. So we have to deny ourselves of that love of ethnicity, love of party, love of this. We have to just, convince ourselves that we need somebody at this time to right the wrongs. There's a lot of wrongs, a lot of insecurities, a lot of stuff just going on. We have to.
I have to interrupt you. You are on a roll. Thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Ebubedike and Dr. Agwara. Thank you so much for coming in and having this great discussion with us this afternoon.